Hi, beautiful people. My name is Farah June, and welcome to the all-new show, Farenheight TV.
Hello! Girl, Farenheight TV is on. Say what?
Farenheight TV.
Magic girl. Magic girl. Magic girl.
February is observed as a month that we celebrate Black history. We look at courageous leaders, rising stars, and inventors who have sacrificed their blood and soul to do greatness for our culture, and through all that, have impacted and uplifted the masses. There's no way in a 55-minute program I could highlight all the brilliant intellects throughout the African diaspora. However, I could highlight 3 local individuals whose perseverance, determination, and bravery prove that they could rise above anything. Farenheight TV. Sometimes life can be a little overwhelming. You may have a goal, but it seems so far, and even sometimes it knocks you down. But once you get up and you rise to the top, you realize that you've been shining all along. These are portraits of everyday cool people who inspire me and inspire you. Rise. On March 6, 1961, President John F. Kennedy signed the executive order. The purpose of this order was to give government officials affirmative action in hiring people despite their race, color, creed, or national origin. 4 years later, President Lyndon B. Johnson added sex and gender to this executive order. It's almost been 53 years since that was initially signed. But imagine living in an era where things were changing rapidly politically. There were still a lot of racial tensions, and the society was trying to get to a better standard. Leroy McLaurin was only 18 years old at the time and dreamed of being a plumber. Little did he know this affirmative action was going to change his life forever. I had the wonderful opportunity to sit with him and talk about his experiences and how he rose despite the challenges that faced him. Here it is. All right, Leroy, so let's get right into it.
Okay.
So before becoming a studio technician and an engineer before you retired, can you tell us what did you dream of becoming initially?
Well, my dream, ever since I was a little boy, I wanted to be a plumber. Because my dad used to have these little sayings about certain different things, and he said, son, they're going to be able to put a man on the moon, but even if they put the man on the moon, the man still got to go to the bathroom. So be a plumber. There's always going to be a job for a plumber.
It makes sense. And you said you came from a family of cooks, so you figured, hey, I might as well become a plumber.
Exactly. That's right. My father was a cook, my brother was a cook, my sister was a cook, and I was the one at 8.
All right. So becoming a plumber, did you ever dream of going to college when you were 18 or any of those aspirations?
My whole life going to middle school and everything, I wasn't a book person. I was a person, you give me a nail and a hammer, a piece of wood, and I build your house.
You're hands-on.
I was a hands-on type of person, right? If you gave me a pencil and piece of paper and said do something with it, that was not my thing.
Yeah.
I was one of those hands-on.
You like to put things together, fix things and all that.
Like the Lego, whatever those toys are.
Yeah.
Like that.
Do you think during the time that you grew up, because a lot of the images you saw of African Americans on television were of the help, like either the maid, a plumber, do you think that affected your decision as well, or?
You know, you're absolutely right. There weren't too many role models to look at, you know, on television back in those days. Most of them, like you said, they were either, you know, maids or train, you know, worked on the train tracks or whatever like that. They weren't really, you didn't see until Bill Cosby came along with a couple of shows, and then there was other couple of shows like Mission Impossible where you actually got to see.
Yeah.
You know, Greg Morris played in that one, and where you actually got to see a black man.
Yeah, doing something other than the help.
Right,
okay,
right.
so you want to become a plumber. You go to school. You're certified plumber now. So can you take me back to that summer where you said you were working?
This is.
We have to
like I
take it
told
all
you,
the way back. So.
You know, this ain't my thing.
Yeah. We're right here with you, Leroy.
All right. So anyway, how I ended up in television was during the summer when I was in high school, I got a job working at this place called EDC for the summer. And what they did there was they made educational films. So while I was there, I learned how to thread projectors and how to splice film and all this stuff like that. Because back then there was no videotape, there was nothing this.
Yeah, we're really lucky that we're in a digital age right now where we could put things easily together. But back in your day, you guys did all the hard work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You actually physically cut the film, put it together, put a piece of tape over it, and that's how it was. It wasn't none of this, like you said, you know, computerized. So anyway, so while I was there working at this place, the gentleman who worked in the projection room there taught me how to load the projectors. So one day when the boss man came in, he had this film that he wanted to show, and he couldn't find the projectionist. So he happened to come up into the cafeteria where I was cleaning up, and I heard him say, I need to show the client this film, and I can't find Fred. So,
yeah, and you decide, hey, I know how to do that.
Exactly.
I might as well volunteer. There go Leroy. So you decided to volunteer and said, I can help you.
I told him I could help him. He says, you know, he gave me that look like, well, who in the heck are you?
Yeah.
You know, because back then I was only 90 pounds, and maybe about 5 feet.
And you were a teenager, so he's like, what is this kid saying? He can help me out. Yeah.
Exactly. And back in those days, the projectors was the size of, you know, the reels was this big.
Yeah.
You know, so. But anyway, to make a long story short, I did that. I showed him the film and everything, and he says to me, he says, kid, I don't know who you are, but if you ever need a job, you call me.
And you remember that.
Exactly. So what happened was I went back to school, finished up out of school, then I started working as an apprentice at this plumbing company in Brookline. But at the time when I got the job, they were finishing up. So they needed to, the next location they were going to be at was like down the Cape. So at that time, I was so young, I didn't have a car.
Yeah.
When I called him up and said, listen, I need a job to, you know, to get some money to get a car. And that's when he said to me, I'm so glad you called because there's this program where we get minorities into television. And I said, I didn't want to be in television. I want to be a plumber.
Yeah.
But he says, well, why don't you come and look at it and, you know, at least let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And then he says, well, by the way, they're going to be paying you to go to school.
And
so
that
I
was
said,
the main thing that was like, ding, I could get a car. So Leroy heard that, and you're like, all right, I'll look into this opportunity.
Exactly.
And you told me it was a 33-week program. Is
what
that
they
right?
had designed was they had gotten together with some other people that worked in the industry and said, and took the classroom stuff out of it. And what they did exactly like we do here at BNN, we give you the actually hands-on training.
experience, yep.
You know, and so that's what they did. So they eliminated a lot of the classroom stuff, and they took a whole 4-year college course and combined it into 33 weeks.
Oh, wow.
So
So it
we
must have
went
been
to school.
intense and really fast. So
Oh,
you
it
have to like
was.
pick up things quickly.
Exactly. So we went to school from 9 to 9, and we learned TV at Emerson, but back then
It was a different type of Emerson back then.
it wasn't color, it was black and
white. Okay.
Okay, they didn't have color cameras
Okay.
at Emerson. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we learned radio at BU, and then we learned, where else we go to?
I know you said you went to Kansas City to like.
Oh, right,
Yeah, you took a trip there to learn how to put together TVs and stuff like that.
In order to work in a television station, you had to have what they call a first-class license, which a first-class license gives you the ability to run any piece of electronic equipment in the world.
Okay, so that's the main goal, to get that license.
So you had to get that license, and that was one of the requirements because in order to run master control, you had to have this license. And if you was a new tech coming into a television station, the first place they put you was in master control.
Okay.
Because that was where you started at, then you work your way around to doing other sorts of things. So I had to have that first class license.
Okay.
So they sent us to Missouri for 6 weeks, and I ended up getting the first class license, and then I came back here and we started working.
Because you were really young working with people way older than you at Channel 5, right?
That's correct.
All right, so at Channel 5, this is your first official job.
Only job,
Your
right.
only job. So can you describe to our viewers what a typical day would be there? I know it would vary depending what show you would have, but just like a typical day at Channel 5.
Back in those days, they weren't like I said, there weren't videotapes, everything was live.
Yeah.
So what you would normally do was you would come in at 9, and probably by 9:30 we'd have our first live show, which Romper Room or Bozo or whatever it was back then. And we would do that from 9:30 to 10:30. Then from 10:30 to 11, you would set up, from 10:30 to 11:30 you went to lunch. Then at 11:30 you came back and set up for the 12 o'clock news, which went from 12 o'clock to 12:30.
So basically, this is like going one after another. There's no,
One right after,
yeah, there's no
exactly.
like 2-hour breaks or anything.
No,
it's like
no, it was nothing
you have to
like
be
that.
on it.
You had
Yes.
to be right on it, and you had to be able to be ready to go because it was live. Again,
Yeah.
it was no videotape or nothing like that.
Wow, so that's a lot of pressure to be put on a young person so early, but you're like, I'm ready to do this.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it really was. It was really scary, but it was also fun because it was a challenge.
Yeah,
Because here I am 90 pounds, and here I'm operating a camera that weighs 400.
yeah,
So it was really a kid's thrill thing. to
yeah.
do-
It's like a
to
kid's
do that.
dream, like, I'm not plumbing anymore. Yeah. Well, I wanted to also get into you working with your coworkers because I know that, affirmative action is taking place and, society's trying to grow as a culture to get through like racial tensions, but I know you went through a little bit of that working in that field.
Well, what happened was, and it was, in all honesty, I understand both sides of it, but what happened is because the company, Channel 5 wanted to be able to show folks that they had a minority working
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
You were the golden child to show everyone, like, we're changing now.
Right.
Yeah.
You're the token. which
Yeah,
we
you're the
call back
token,
then.
yeah.
You're the token. So in order for them to do that, to have me working in the daytime, they had to, at that time, it was a union.
Yeah.
So when you came in on the bottom. You was the lowest on the totem pole, which means you would take the last shift,
Yeah.
whatever was left.
And you have to climb up eventually the
As
ladder
people
to get
retired
to the,
or left or whatever, you get to a point where you would be at a 9 to 5,
Yeah.
exactly. So what they did, they didn't want to do that. They wanted to be able to show the folks that they had a minority working there. So they said, we have to figure out a way to be able to let Leroy work days.
Yeah, so
And
he could be seen by
He
all
could
the
be
people that are
seen.
visiting.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
the only way they could do that was the only way that you can move a technician anywhere you want to is you had to make them a supervisor.
Wow.
So,
So
here I
that's
am.
kind of like a double standard in a way, because it's like you're moving up a ladder that people are trying to move, like, been trying to move up.
Right.
But because you're the golden child, and
Right. They
you do
wanna-
deserve this opportunity,
Right.
no lie, but they have to move you above everybody else. So now,
So now that's when a lot of the hostility and all of the stuff that was going on, anyway, for me being there, it really hit the fan.
yeah,
Because now, again, like I was saying, not only was I working days, but in order to make me a supervisor, I was getting paid more than them.
oh, yeah.
Here's someone
That's
that has
definitely going to
no-
make you a frenemy. They're going to be like, oh, I can't stand Leroy. Yeah, but it's not, they don't see it's fair, but in a way it wasn't fair in the beginning because you never had this opportunity before too. So it's kind of,
It's a double
Yeah,
sword
it's a-
thing.
yeah.
So you got to look at both sides of it. But what happened was, so they did that. And so, of course, that made some of the other guys very unhappy, which I understand too, now that I've got on and understand it. And so, therefore, they said, look, we're not going to put up with this because the union said there's nothing we can do technically. They can do that. And the station wanted that way, so they said, well, we're going to try to find a way to get rid of Leroy.
so they were just testing you. They would do things to you
The guys
just
that were so-called supposed to be my brothers in the union,
supposed to be working together.
Together,
We're trying to
right.
work against you.
they were trying to get me out of there because of the fact is that they did not appreciate that that they did that for me.
Did you ever, was there ever difficult for you to go to work sometimes because of that, that energy that's not positive around you?
Oh yeah, many a times I would run home crying to my mother, and my mother would say to me, as long as they don't put their hands on you,
yeah.
you're going back.
So would you call her somewhat of a mentor for you, or a person that like really allowed you to rise above all of the challenges you were going through?
She really did, because she knew and she understood, all the stuff that she had to go through and what Black folks had to go to, and it was a golden opportunity in that she wanted me to, stick it out there. And she says, again, as long as they don't put their hands on you,
yeah,
you're going back. But the day they put their hands on you, you ain't have to worry about going back. I'm going there.
Yeah, and you're Leroy, so you could handle it. Yeah. But I mean, I remember reading something about because I know you're such you use comedy a lot, like you're naturally funny. Do you think that that's a source of you using that to kind of protect yourself too from going back through all the pain and everything?
It does. It really does, because, a lot of times it really did hurt, because they did some things that, just was, a matter of fact, they had a pool going. They had a pool. Everybody, all the other guys, all 32 other guys, the so-called folks who were working with me, all put in $100 and said whoever could do the worst thing to me to make me quit won the pool.
Oh my God.
So they would do certain things like, hang the hangsman loop, necks in my locker room.
Oh no.
They would do things like on the headsets. They would, because back then there was like 12 or 13 people, around in the headsets. It was more than just the control room. You had the guys in master control. Everybody was on the headsets during that time. So, all the racist marks and all those kind of things they would say. Or, for example, if I would walk into the lunchroom and I get my tray to go sit down, they would all get up and leave.
Oh my God, just like the things you see in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
So Leroy, how do you rise above all of the challenges and still remain such a cool person? How did you rise above all of that?
Because of what my mother said. My mother said to me, you're going to keep going back. Again, you got to keep doing it. You got to be an inspiration. You got to not let them,
get to you.
Get to you.
Yeah.
And so, and they didn't. And then by the blessing of one of the guys that were there, his name was Tony Tower. He used to be a boxer.
Oh, okay.
And
boxers' mentality. Yeah, they're gonna definitely strengthen your strength for the job. Like you're ready. Yeah.
Exactly.
They're gonna get you prepared.
And I never forget the one day he came to me and he says, look, I'm tired of what all these guys are doing to you. I admire the courage that you have to keep coming back and coming back.
Yeah.
And he told me it reminded him of his last fight.
Wow.
He said the last fight that he had, it was against a black brother. It was against a brother. And he knew this brother was just on his last legs, but he kept coming back.
Like he would not give up.
He wouldn't give up. And Tony says, I don't want to hit you no more. Just lay down.
Yeah.
But he just kept coming after Tony and coming after Tony. And then finally Tony just gave him a blow.
Yeah.
Knocked him out. The guy was paralyzed.
Wow.
So Tony carried that around with him for a long time. So he told me, he says, I reminded him of that guy.
Yeah.
And he wanted to do something back.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm going to work with you and I'm going to teach you this stuff. And I'm going to be with you so that they won't continue doing these things to you.
So he was like, I'm going to be a friend. I'm going to rise above all the ignorance that other people are doing to you.
Because he understood it wasn't my fault. I was being a little pawn in a chess game.
Yeah.
It was nothing I had to do.
But you do have to admit that you were really courageous, because you could have gave up. Like you said, there was only like 10, 15 people that started the program. 6 of you guys left. You could have been...
Easily,
yeah,
exactly.
Easily.
Well, the other thing too now, we weren't all at Channel 5 now.
Yeah.
Each station.
Yeah, because I know there was 4 stations around that time.
It was 4, 5, and 7. 30, it was 5 stations, 38 and 56.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like that. But no, you're right. So he was the one that, really, then I started to feel a lot safer.
Yeah.
And he really started to teach me things. And
all it takes is one person to be like, I'm going to rise above that, and I'm going to help him rise above that.
Because I never forget one time we had a big to-do show. And this was the last time they really got to me, was they said, all right, let's put Leroy on the camera. But they didn't know that Tony had been working with me and really teaching me how to, work the cameras.
Yeah, you were enhancing your intellect beyond what you thought you were going to learn.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so when the time came, they threw me in on camera. They all got in the control room and said, "Oh, watch this. This is going to be a trip. There's no way he can do whatever this director is asking
Little did
for."
they know your name is Leroy, and you said the joke's on you. Yeah.
Exactly. So the director started saying, "Pan right, tilt up, dolly left, dolly right, zoom in." And back in those days, there's no, like today's, the electronic one.
Yeah.
Everything was crank.
And it was way bigger. The cameras are
400
humongous.
pounds.
My gosh.
400 pounds. It was crank. So when you had to zoom, you had to pan, crank at the same time. It wasn't
my
no
gosh.
hold a button back. Then you had to crank it back up. Then when you wanted to get a closer shot, you had to turn the crank.
This is like a workout. I have to do all sorts of stuff just to get a shot. I'd be like, just let him sit there. Just let him sit there. It's too much.
Exactly, just to get a shot. So after they did that, and they were all just in the control room at all.
Yeah,
they
were
had
shocked
no
that you
idea.
knew everything. On
Right,
point.
on
not
point.
messing up.
Exactly.
I love it. Was Chuck Curtis a good friend of yours?
Oh, he was, oh my God, I tell you, that thing hurted me so bad. He was, again, him and Natalie and Peter Mahegan and a few others, we all kind of like started together because.
You guys are like brothers and sisters, kind of.
Exactly, exactly. We was all young. We was all, just, just that, true. I can't, but anyway.
Yeah, I'm glad that you found some type of family, though. That's what, I don't want to get into it too much, but yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was funny because that's exactly what happened. So when he married Nat, I also had gotten married, and we had kids the same time.
What? Your kids
So
are like
we were-
cousins, like they're
right.
each other's
We
cousins.
was the kids of Channel 5.
Yeah.
And Peter Mahegan married someone else that worked there, and they had a kid. And then they did this PSA where they had nothing but the Channel 5 kids in with their parents. And
Oh, wow.
it was
I
neat.
love
It
it.
was neat.
Let's
Yeah, I
see how
gotta
the
find that thing.
generations.
Exactly,
Yeah.
the generations of how it came through.
So to lighten up the mood, was there anything, like, I know it might be hard to ask you because you probably had a lot of fun too.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a particular moment that you can remember that you're like, wow, I'll never forget that was so much fun, or that was amazing?
There was a couple of them. The White House was one, but for me, going to the White House, but for me, it was spending a week on an aircraft carrier.
You spent a week on it.
An aircraft
What?
carrier, yeah.
In the air, Leroy?
No, aircraft carrier is a big ship
Oh, okay.
where they launch the planes off,
Oh,
the
yeah,
jets,
yeah, I
they
see
take
it.
off and they land
the
right on
movies
the,
and stuff,
right,
yeah.
on the aircraft carrier. Stay a week there it was unbelievable because they told you they assign a person to be with us at all times because it's a floating city.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a floating city, okay? And I should have listened to them when they said, "Do not
That's the big
venture
word.
out on
Yeah.
your own."
But
what
you
did Leroy?
decided, I'm Leroy, and I'm gonna go and see the world and see what's going on.
So
And your nice little suit, you know? Yeah.
No. But I did, and of course I got lost. And for us, they did a lot of stuff like they did a Make Believe Man Overboard.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this big ship is calm and everything, and then you just see people coming out of the woodworks. I mean, people were every kind of way coming out of this. Doors open that you didn't know where a door was.
Were you scared? Were you like, what's going on?
What's
I didn't
going
know,
on? Right.
I didn't know what's going on. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because they know you only got a minute and a half from the time that Man Overboard is announced
Yeah.
to have any chance of surviving. So everybody has to get to their point on that ship and do what they have to do. There's guys that just have to lower the boats, the other guys doing the rafters, all kinds of things.
So you get to be in the middle of it. It's like a movie. You get to see it all play out. That's
Exactly.
awesome.
It was exactly. And
Was it
then-
really loud too? Because you said that
Oh,
they're like,
yeah.
oh my gosh.
Oh my God, was it loud? It was unbelievable loud. And the best part about it was we actually got to get catapulted off the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're doing, you're sitting in a chair like this, and the next thing you go from 0 to 175 miles an hour in 4 seconds.
Oh my gosh.
So you
it's like
could
those
feel
commercials they do with like cars, like
Right.
with the dummies and stuff.
Exactly.
Were you terrified?
Exactly. Oh, they don't let you get terrified because you don't know you're going to go.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there in a chair,
Aw,
and the
that's
guy's
such a
talking to
tease.
you, and he says, "Welcome to such and such and such. In a few seconds, we're
Oh
going
my
to be
goodness.
taking off to go there. So sit back and relax, and then boom,
Oh my
you're gone.
God. They have roller coasters just like that.
It's
Oh
you
my
were
gosh.
gone. So for 4 seconds, you're sitting like this, shaking, and your face is going all the way
You didn't
back.
even get to breathe
You
yet
didn't
because
get
you
to
were
breathe
so
or
fast.
nothing. Exactly.
Oh my
and the next
gosh.
thing you know, you're up in the air. you're way up in there, and that ship looks like a little play toy.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
It
well,
really was.
Leroy, I have a final question because we have
Sure,
to wrap
I'm
up.
sorry.
So no, it's fine. I love hearing. I never heard that story before. So now that you are retired, you work here at BNN teaching all of us young individuals your craft.
Yes.
Your grandfather.
Yes.
You're a role model to the community, to us.
Man, thank you.
What would your words of wisdom be to somebody that wants to get into this field or has a challenge?
As I tell everybody, the one thing about this business is really, really great, and I love it. But the one thing that you really got to do is make sure that it's something you really, really want, because it's not a 9 to 5 like I was trying to say earlier. It's not that. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot from you. It's going to take a lot of dedication from you, and also it's a type of a field that you're never on top of it. So what it is today is only good for 30 days, and then next 30 days you got to learn something new.
It's constantly evolving.
It's constantly evolving that. And the one thing I didn't get a chance to do is spend a lot of time with my family because I was constantly going. So think about that before you really get into it, and make sure that you understand that it does take a toll on your family and the family life. But other than that, it's a great field. It's unbelievable opportunities. I mean, I got to see things I know I would have never seen anywhere else, But that's the main thing. I tell the young kids, try to tell you guys too, if you get into it, make sure that,
you're passionate about it.
You're passionate about it, because you may look back and before you know it, 20 years later, you're like, oh my God, I'm 40 years old. I have no kids. I have no, you know what I mean? So if you're not thinking about being, if you're thinking about being a family person.
Probably not the right career.
Right.
But also know that they will come with challenges and that you can rise above them.
The most important thing is you're going to come with a lot of challenges, and like you said, you can rise above them. But you got to work hard. You really got to work hard. You got to really love the craft. You got to really love the business, because dealing with folks that have different types of emotions and
opinions and all that,
and everything like that, because there's nothing that's so-called standard. Like a 2x4 is a 2x4. This business is not a 2x4. It's not just, that's it.
It's a creative field, so it makes sense.
Exactly. So.
Well, Leroy, I want to thank you again for being
pleasure.
on the show. It was an honor to interview you, and you really are a role model that shows that you can rise above anything and still be an inspiring, cool person. So thank you so much for being on Farenheight TV.
Well, I tell you, I thank you so much for having me. And again, we are so proud of you guys too. And the only reason why I'm doing it is because the emotion and the feeling, and I guess you guys have really kind of got this. You know what I mean? And I just.
Well, we learn from great people like you. So thank you so much for being on the show, and we'll be right back after this.
Where's the light?
I don't know. I don't know what happened.
What do you mean you don't know?
I was just trying to relax. I'm gonna find it right now.
light.
Okay, all right. I found it's right here. It's right here. It's right here. Okay.
Magic girl. Bat, 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 bat.
No matter what life throws at you, with a little determination, perseverance, and heart, you can rise above it all and be great. I want to personally thank my 3 guests for joining me on my first episode of Farenheight TV. Please know that your colorful spirits inspire the masses, and most of all, encourage young optimists like myself that no matter what the challenge, they could prosper if they believe in themselves and work towards their goal. Even though Black History Month is celebrated in February, we must continue to recognize the bold, courageous, and motivating individuals who continue to grace us with their talent and intellect through the African diaspora. Black History Month is human history. Let us continue to uplift, observe, and contribute to the pages. Thank you again for tuning in to Farenheight TV, and I look forward to seeing all you beautiful people again. Live your life, live your dream, no fear.